8:52 a.m. on this Thursday morning. We can now go to Cian Fahey. How are you, Cian?
I'm in shock looking at Ger's mustache still. I never get used to it, especially at this hour in the morning.
What's the thinking here, Ger? How long is it going to last for? Is this the new you?
I mean, yeah, there's no thinking. It's just it exists. Deal with it.
Did you also get a plumber skill set with it?
Hey, and that's I need to get one of those costumes and get that shot before it goes.
Yeah, well, there's been plenty of reaction to that, Ger, and on Twitter. We might actually round that up over the next little while and get that back to you at the end of the slot. But Cian, this weekend in the NFL, we'll get into the matches in just a moment. But we saw in the NBA last night a walk off from the Heat and the Celtics. We thought that there could actually be some sort of disruption to the game. That wasn't the case. They instead took a knee during the anthem, and then there was a knee taken in the Milwaukee game as well after tip-off. Do we expect similar levels of protest in the NFL this weekend?
I love that we're going into this topic and then we're going to round up reactions to Ger's mustache afterward. That's brilliant. I like the NFL and the NBA are two very different leagues, and if you've followed American sports over the last 10 years, over the last 5 years, even since 2017, the NFL has been a great medium to learn about wider America through because of Colin Kaepernick and the reaction to Colin Kaepernick. And the NBA is considered a progressive league, but it's not really a progressive league. It's the same, run by owners who are largely Republicans and largely Trump-leaning, conservative-leaning. But in the NBA, the players have so much power because one, it's very simple reasons. One, there's far fewer players in the NBA on teams. Like LeBron James completely changes your team in the NFL or in the NBA in a way that NFL players simply can't because there's only 5 of them on the court at a time. And also, and it sounds kind of stupid and it sounds kind of rudimental, but the fact that they don't wear helmets gives the players there far more recognition and far more power. In that recognition, there's real power and there's real ability to affect change. Everyone knows who NBA players are because they know what they look like. Whereas the majority of NFL players, people barely recognize because they don't see them. They don't see them up close. They don't see them like there's no such thing as courtside in the NFL. Everyone's far away, even if you're at the games. So there's a power balance in the NBA where the players can kind of get more recognition and make more of an impact. Whereas in the NFL, if you protest too much, like Colin Kaepernick did, like Kenny Stills to an extent did, like Eric Reed did, you will lose your work and you will be pushed aside because of it. So will we see protests this weekend? We'll probably see players kneeling. We'll probably see the same stuff we've seen all along. And at this point, kneeling has kind of lost its power. It used to be, I think it caused real problems and I think it really broke up and really made people talk about stuff they didn't want to talk about. And now it's kind of got to the point where we see people kneeling and we just go, okay, even we see it in the Premier League now. So, but if you look at like America as a whole and you look at it through the prism of last night, what happened, like it kind of captures it perfectly. And I couldn't really sum it up better than how the NBA players in that statement did. If you're white in America, you can march into a Congress building and not expect to be attacked. If you're non-white in America, you can do absolutely nothing and fear for your life. And it's a sad thing to say. And when you say it that flatly and that straightforward, people get a little bit uncomfortable about it because it's an uncomfortable truth, but that's just the way it is.
Patrick Mahomes might be the one player in the NFL who has a LeBron-like impact on his team, and they're not playing this weekend. So it'll be interesting to see if what happens when he plays. And look, that's another full week away, so we'll probably get an opportunity to see if he does make a statement, if he does try and politicize whatever's going on around the Chiefs game when they play the following week. So look, we should talk about the games this weekend because it's a non-Premier League weekend. There are some decent FA Cup ties. There are some turkeys as usual, but there are some brilliant NFL games, and we kind of wanted to set the table for people to get give them an idea of what they should be looking out for. So the Colts against the Bills is the opening game on Saturday, and if people are going to watch one game this weekend, then they should watch this, right?
Yes, well, actually, the beauty of this weekend is that the first games are both on 6 o'clock, and that's not normal because we got the extra game this year. And the first games on Saturday and Sunday are also look like they're going to be the best games. And the Bills and the Colts, it's a beautiful matchup because if you look at the Bills, Josh Allen has got a complete turnaround from where he was in his first 2 seasons. In his first 2 seasons, he was historically inaccurate. He was a completely incompetent quarterback who would just run the ball all the time because he didn't know how to throw the ball. Like if you banned the hand pass in the last couple of years, it wouldn't have mattered to Josh Allen because he couldn't throw the ball anyway. And this year, his accuracy has jumped. Like he's 10% more accurate in the 1 to 10 yard range. He's 10% more accurate on deep balls, which has a huge impact on his completion percentage, but also has had a huge impact on the rest of the offense, especially when you add Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is an uncoverable wide receiver on the outside. The Colts have no one who can match up to him. So you would expect the Bills to be able to move the ball a little bit. But what the Colts do have that nobody else has had with the Bills this year is a defensive line that will be able to get pressure on Allen. Because the strength of the Bills' offense, or the strength of the Bills' whole offense, while Allen has been very good at times, has been the offensive line. Because if you only rush 4 after Allen, they're not going to get anywhere near him. If you blitz him, then the offense has an advantage because they know you're blitzing and they can get the ball quickly to Diggs. And that's kind of the structure of the offense. And so now we look at the Colts defense and the matchup to that. You've got DeForest Buckner, who was a key player for the 49ers last year, who was the guy who was hitting Patrick Mahomes in that Super Bowl over and over and over again, which slowed down the Chiefs offense. You would expect him to get that pressure. And he's had a great year after being traded from the 49ers to the Colts. So you've got this something's got to win out situation where the pressure from the Colts defense against the quality of the Bills offense, something's going to win. And then the other side of the ball, you've got Jonathan Taylor, a rookie running back who's been incredible this year. So this could be a game where you have really tight matchup and a game where defense has a real impact, which hasn't really been the case this year. We've set record for scoring numbers this year, record for touchdowns, passing and running. So no one's really tackling anyone this year. But the Colts defense has been one of the true exceptions, while the Bills offense has been outstanding too. So it's going to be a really fascinating game. And it should be a really, I don't think it'll be as high scoring as some of the other games, but it'll be high scoring enough to keep the entertainment value up.
Yeah, and if it's low scoring, then that's a good chance for the Colts to win. And that's the Philip Rivers story continuing. Every game is going to be his last game if he loses. Fairly open about that. Let's talk a little bit about Lamar Jackson, who last year was the MVP. Started the season a little bit slowly, but is one of the most electrifying people in world sport to watch. And again, absolutely worth watching this weekend because his form has come back. His form on the ground as a runner has been amazing over the last 5 or 6 weeks. And how he goes has kind of been the story of the Ravens this season too.
Yeah, well, the Ravens had to play in week 17 to get in, and you kind of didn't expect that coming into the year. You expected them to walk into the league. Them and the Chiefs were the 2 top teams. Lamar was incredible last year, and he started this year all right, except for that week 2 game against the Chiefs where basically the whole team no-showed. The Ravens' problem is they've lost so many players to injuries, and they've had, on the offensive line in particular, they've lost Marshall Yanda and Ronnie Stanley from last year's team, which are their 2 best offensive linemen. They needed this year to become more of a passing offense. And everyone focuses on Lamar when you talk about this. But their real problem has been their receivers. They don't have receivers who can consistently get open and consistently catch the ball. And Marquise Brown has been the real problem. He doesn't really get open consistently, and he's had loads of drops. Now, he had 2 touchdowns last week, and he's had a couple of big plays, including a game winner against the Browns late in the 4th quarter when Lamar made an incredible throw back across his body. So you have a little bit of life in their passing game lately, but you also see that it's a team that's wholly reliant on running the ball. So why this becomes kind of fascinating is the Tennessee Titans have not stopped anyone in the passing game this year. Literally every quarterback they've come up against has had a good day against them because they have no pass rush at all. Jadeveon Clowney was brought in. He's not really a great pass rusher anyway, but he's out injured now. So they don't even have a guy who they were looking to. Harold Landry plays too many snaps because they don't have anyone who can come in and play behind him, which tires him out, which means he can't get to the quarterback consistently. If the Ravens come in and just try and run the ball, it'll probably keep this game closer than it should be, because Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill on the other side will put up points against that Ravens defense. Now, this is a game where last year it was a little bit inverted, where the Ravens were the heavy favorites against the Titans, and the Titans came in and ran the ball well and were able to pick them apart with big plays downfield. Khalif Raymond scored a long touchdown over Earl Thomas, who's subsequently been released from the Ravens and actually didn't have a team this year. So you've got a completely different matchup there now, where you've got the Ravens going on the road. Lamar hasn't won a playoff game yet, which is a big narrative in America. It hasn't been his fault. He was over 500 yards last year, and in year 1, it was all about offensive line issues and receiver issues. So this should be a really high-scoring game, I think. If this goes to 40 with both teams, and basically the last team that has the ball wins. If you watched the Eagles-Patriots Super Bowl from a couple of years ago, where it was literally one defensive play won the game, it'll be kind of similar to that. Maybe not as high scoring just because of the way the Ravens offense works and keeps the ball for so long. And that's kind of a funny thing because Derrick Henry is known for that, whereas he might be more of the home run hitter compared to the Ravens, who have J.K. Dobbins, a rookie this year, who have Gus Edwards, who's having a great year, and Mark Ingram has kind of been pushed to the back now. So they're a little bit more explosive than last year, but they still want to grind out 5 and 6 yards per play and move downfield methodically.
1:15 on Sunday morning, we've got Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going up against the Washington football team. Can Brady, Cian, escape the clutches of Chase Young in this game?
So this is the game I have the least confidence in picking, or in kind of understanding how the game is going to develop. I'm never really confident in picking games, but when you get to the playoffs, you have an idea of what the team is. So you can say this pass rush is going to win out, this offensive line is going to win out, this receiver is going to win out, this defender is going to win out. The problem with that with the Buccaneers is they've been so inconsistent, so wildly fluctuating from week to week. One of the big issues is Bruce Arians and Tom Brady are using so many different players on offense. Like you'll have Leonard Fournette, you'll have Ronald Jones sharing at running back. You have Cameron Braid. Jake Howard was in, but he got injured. Rob Gronkowski, and they've Tanner Hudson there as well at tight end. You've got wide receivers in Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Scott Miller, and Chris Godwin. And the problem becomes all these players are rotating in and out, so they never really develop a rhythm. Antonio Brown has come alive over the last couple of weeks, and he's much better than Scott Miller, and he's probably a better fit with Brady than either of Evans and Godwin. So he's a really key feature in this game. And the reason he's so important to Brady is Brady likes to catch and release the ball. He doesn't want to hold the ball. He wants to get the ball out quickly. And when you've got an offensive line like the Buccaneers have, a really poor one, a really limited one, that's a key detail. But Evans is 6'5" and 300 pounds or whatever he is. He's not going to get open quickly. Antonio Brown can. So if Brady can connect with Brown over and over again, and Scott Miller will probably have a bigger role as well, they'll be able to move the ball against this Washington offense, or against this Washington defense. The counterpoint there is if he has to hold the ball, it's not just Chase Young who'll be coming from. Daron Payne is an incredible player. Jonathan Allen can get there from the interior. Ryan Kerrigan is old now, but he comes in as a rotational pass rusher. Montez Sweat is a second-year player who's up at around 10 sacks this year. Brady's going to get beaten up here. Whether he can hold up and actually move the ball enough to win the game, I think he probably can, because on the other side of the ball, you've got Alex Smith, who's extremely limited, despite a great story of him coming back from nearly losing his leg, not being able to walk anymore, to being a playoff starting quarterback. The problem there is he's still checking the ball down too much. Logan Thomas is really good at tight end. Terry McLaurin is arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL. Antonio Gibson is a great running back, but I just don't think they have enough firepower on offense to match Brady playing well. So it really does come down to Chase Young versus Tom Brady.
It's too early for them, all right. It feels a little bit. The Bears, they are up against the Saints, and this is, again, potentially Drew Brees' last ever match. Is there an upset here? Is Mitchell Trubisky going to annoy the Saints and give them another heartbreaking defeat for the fourth successive year?
I think this is it. I think this is where the upset is, because the Saints have had a very similar script every single year, where they get to the playoffs and Drew Brees is just wreck tired, and he's now over 40. He's got a couple of broken ribs, or at least he had a couple of broken ribs last month, so he's not going to be fully recovered from that. He hasn't played particularly well when he has been healthy, so expecting a big game from him is one thing. Now you've got a Bears team coming in that just got blown up by the Packers, but they got blown up by the Packers because Aaron Rodgers is a god this year, even though he didn't have a great game last week, and he's the easy MVP this year. But if you have the Bears defense with Khalil Mack coming in, with the interior pressure of Akeem Hicks coming in, it's going to be a big ask for Brees to move the ball. So it really comes down to, is Mitch Trubisky going to turn the ball over? And Mitch Trubisky, like, for his rock roll of his career he's had, for much of a roller coaster it's been, the ups have been great, the downs have been really, really bad. He's never really found a middle ground. He's found a way to be consistent and play to play. I think the last month of his career has probably been that time where he's been closest to a medium quarterback, closer to consistent play to play, getting what you expect. So if Trubisky avoids the major mistakes, and that's a big if based on his career, then the Bears could very easily come in and win this game. David Montgomery's going to be able to run the ball. They're not really going to focus on Allen Robinson because of Marshawn Lattimore. They're taking him away. I think they have the ability to cause an upset. Will I pick them outright? I think I probably will.
Right, okay. It's 11 broken ribs Drew Brees had, not to underplay it. He only had 22 ribs, I think. So half of his ribs were broken. Cian, good stuff. Nice one. Thanks a million. Enjoy the weekend. Cheers.
I'm just happy I was more energetic than Raj at this time of the morning.
Cian Fahey with us there, previewing the weekend's NFL action.